Hey there, nerds. Jimmy here with Two Nerdy Dads. This is episode 19. And with me, as always, we have Jason Applegate. Say hey, Jason.
Hey guys, how's it going?
So, we had a nerdy Thanksgiving. A lot of stuff came out. What are we going to talk about first, Jason?
Oh, we got lots of news. I think what we should hit first is the big news on Black Friday, which was the trailer that was released for the new Star Wars movie.
What? What
I
happened?
know.
No!
I know. I love that I sent you a link to a fake one, like the day before, and Rick rolled you, which, by the way, I had to look up because I had no idea what that meant. So I learned something because of that. Um,
I'm happy for you.
Well, good. I'm glad. You know, you've made my life more rich now that I know what Rick rolling is. But I found it amusing that literally, probably hours later, the actual trailer comes out, and that just cracked me up. So let's go to you. I mean, you're looking behind you. You're the expert here on Star Wars. What were your thoughts?
I was super excited. Let me start with I was super frustrated with all the people posting fake links.
Yeah.
I know some people were doing it by accident because they thought, oh my God, it's out, let's post it quick without checking it. But I got Rick rolled, and if you don't know what that is, Google it. Rick roll yourself. It's fantastic. But there was one Rick roll which was really impressive. It was like unsteady camera phone in a movie theater, like it was really a trailer, and then all of a sudden on the screen, there it is, getting Rick rolled. I'm like, come on, are you serious?
At least the one I sent you was fan made, but it looked pretty good. I was surprised.
I was going to just say the other one that I saw was a good combination of old footage. It started out with Return of the Jedi with Luke Skywalker at the funeral pyre for Darth Vader, and then I don't know who did the voiceover, but it had a voiceover explaining things and showed some of the older footage. And then I can't remember, was that one or another one that included some of the old video game footage, which was really cool. So yeah, there were some good fan ones. But once we finally got the trailer on Friday morning, I've never seen iTunes do this because it's obviously a robust website with Apple. It was jammed. It was jammed. I couldn't get to the trailer right away. I had to go to YouTube and find it on movieclips.com. But my first impression was awesome.
Question mark?
I'm liking, or I'm confused. I don't know what this mystical power is of Tatooine being in every Star Wars movie, it seems like. But it's okay. I enjoyed it. I love how John Boyega just pops out and you're like, whoa, what's going on? And that's something I would like to talk about is there's a lot of flack over a black stormtrooper.
I know, right?
I don't know what that's about.
I liked, there was one I saw where they included the Spaceballs clip where they have the pick. We ain't found. Yeah, that part cracked me up when I saw that. Because they're obviously commenting on the ridiculous comments. But for one thing, I mean, you know me, I'm not a huge fan of the prequels. So the the clones and everything like that, I think where people are coming from, hopefully in a non-racist way, is that, well, aren't the stormtroopers just the clone troopers from before? And they didn't, if they're all clones of Jango Fett, then how is there a black stormtrooper? Well, if you grew up with Star Wars like you and I did, there was no clones for the stormtroopers. We always just assumed they were like any other superhero movie or James Bond movie or whatever, these sort of nameless and literally faceless, because they have their masks on, you never see their identities, just henchmen that are really bad at shooting things, and despite their armor, get shot once and fall down. So I never questioned it when I saw it. Not to mention, someone else, a listener of ours, pointed out, she said, hello, Luke Skywalker and Han Solo donned the stormtrooper costumes to get away, so maybe it could be that. So I liked that idea as well. But my thought was, even if they are still using clones in the episodes 4, 5, 6, and now 7, I would think that they also had recruits, people that they recruited to the Empire that were in the stormtrooper costumes as well. So I don't know as much about the history and the story behind the films as maybe you do. So maybe you've which of those two theories do you like?
Well, let me start with Leia mentioned, aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper to Luke? Not, aren't you a little white for a stormtrooper to Luke? So, yeah, not a problem. But, and this is where it gets tricky because the extended universe was theoretically wiped out from Lucasfilm. But what I know of the extended universe, and it seems like they're taking this into account, is the Emperor did away with all cloning. Away with it, destroyed it, except for ones that he could use himself. And that was mainly because he didn't want a new army to come about and take over just like he did. So cloning was wiped away for the most part. But like I said, the Emperor himself used the clone facilities to clone himself, which you can see in Dark Empire 2 by Dark Horse, which is awesome. So, yeah, it's not surprising. Plus, if we go back to A New Hope, guess where a bunch of Luke's friends went? They joined the Academy. That's why he was all upset. Oh my gosh, I can't go hang out with my friends. You can hang with your friends when your chores are done. Well, it was fun because he wanted to join the Academy like all his friends were doing, and that's what they did. They joined the Academy to join the Empire because the Empire wasn't necessarily seen as a bad thing. It was a military thing he could use to get off the planet.
Right.
It's not like the rebellion was sitting there going, hey, we're over here, guys. Hey, come join us. Because if that happens, the Empire knows where they are, and boom. Also, to that end, Han Solo was a captain in the Empire, and that's where he came upon Chewie as a slave and decided this is not for me, and they freed Chewie, and the rest is history. So seeing John Boyega as a black stormtrooper, whether he was escaping something and donning the costume to escape, or if he is an actual stormtrooper, that didn't even faze me. I was actually shocked that there was an uproar, and the only thing I can fathom is people are upset because he's not the clone Jango Fett. I don't understand. So I don't know what people's problem are. Actually, it made me mad that it was even a thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. I thought it might have been the best part of the entire trailer because it causes all those questions. Like, why is he on Tatooine? It seems as though he's stranded there. He's rising up from having fallen or something. So how did he get there? Why is he in the stormtrooper costume? You know, who is this guy? Because I don't even know who he's supposed to be in the story. I don't think anybody does at this point.
And that's funny you mentioned that because, I mean, we'll get into it a little more, but I'm like, okay, cool, trailer. Let's go see who's playing what. And I went on IMDb, and all it has are the actor's name, no character attached to him, except for the characters we already know, like Han, Leia, Luke, Chewie. So I was like, whoa, okay, this is interesting, very interesting. So anyway, we move on from John Boyega, and we see, and this is the part that makes me a little, oh my gosh, Jar Jar Binks, the little droid on like a soccer ball thing. Across, which, okay, it's cool, it's cute, but it just sort of reminded me a little bit of Jar Jar, and I'm like, oh man, I don't like that. Not thrilled yet.
Yeah, that. Have you seen the GIF of that where it's got the music playing behind it of the haters be hating and stuff? I liked it. I found it amusing.
It is funny, and I forgot to mention it also when John Boyega jumped up. If I remember correctly, there was a probe droid sound in the back room from like Hoth, you know, whatever it was saying, which is interesting. So it's like, oh my gosh, do they have to send a probe droid to search for something?
Well, maybe for him, if we're going with that whole, and I hope that he was a stormtrooper and has somehow, you know, renegade, gone astray. Like maybe he found out some sort of information and he's, you know, AWOL and they're hunting him down. That's kind of what I was hoping. But it could be that he's, you know, like Luke, undercover, because you know how Star Wars is. They like to repeat trends. You know, even in the first 3 movies, there were certain phrases that they said continually, you know, I have a bad feeling about this. And you know, that happened. And it was kind of a nice little, you know, inside joke and sort of, it's fun to have that cyclical thing. So it might be that, but maybe that's part of it. Maybe the droid's looking for him, and that's why he's so agitated.
And that's cool. And that's another thing that I forgot to mention was you have the voiceover in the very beginning, which it cracked me up. Everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, Benedict Cumberbatch!" It's like he has nothing to do with this. I don't understand why you were saying that. And it came out, no, it's not him, Benedict. It is Andy Serkis from Lord of the Rings, from Planet of the Apes. Just an all-around awesome actor that you don't really usually see because he's doing CGI stuff.
Right.
I was excited that they got him involved. Further down the line, we had stormtroopers looking like they were in like a sort of Bombay somewhere being dispatched. And the thing that caught me was very J.J. Abrams, the way it was showing the stormtrooper line and them getting ready to jump out wherever. But the guns, they looked very updated, advanced with numbers on the side. It reminded me actually of several of the video games that they have out with stormtroopers. And I really, really like that, how they're updating it, which is a weird thing for the Star Wars universe because the first movies came out in late 70s. And then we had to sort of go back in time with the technology because the events in the prequels happened before that, but the advancement in CG and movie making had gone way past that. So it's this weird thing where, well, where are we now? Are we advanced? Are we behind? What are we doing? So I really like to see that. And the Bombay doors open. Apparently they're going to jump out and do something. We have, let's see, I can't remember the actress's name. This might have been Daisy Ridley, who hasn't really appeared in much, a couple shorts when I looked her up on IMDb, but she got on that vehicle on, once again, Tatooine and fed in. Again, don't know what she's doing, but it looked cool. And again, there's always, I know this sounds stupid, but Skywalker Sound just does an amazing job with the sound effects. And the vehicles, they really nail because it took off and had a very unique sound effect to it. So that was cool. And then, of course, a lot of people were speculating on this, and they were saying it was Luke, but I don't think so. We have a robed figure, dark robed figure, walking in the woods, stops, lightsaber comes out, and there's a whole bunch of memes on that. But the thing that struck me when I first saw it was it's not a solid energy blade. It's rippling. And that's not a typical lightsaber. So why is it not? What's going on? Because this lightsaber is made by the Jedi or the Sith themselves, and it represents their personality and who they are. It's almost said that the crystal that goes into the blade chooses the Jedi. So I'm very curious what that's about. Again, the side handle things, they don't bother me. They're just there. I'm sure they're like, oh, Game of Thrones, let's add something, Valerian steel. That didn't bother me. But I know the memes out there. My favorite one shows the Sith, whatever, with the lightsaber, and then in the background or foreground, behind him, it's got Jesus holding a cross.
The other way. Yeah, I saw that one too.
Wow, people. Wow, a lot of time on our hands. But and then my favorite part goes black. John Williams' music comes up, and then we have the Millennium Falcon doing its twist, coming into a dogfight against three TIE fighters. Man, hairs in the back of my neck sticking up.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I know people were commenting, oh, they're using a lot of CG again. It's like, shut up. Phantom Menace was made in 1999. CG has come a long way.
Yep.
Guaranteeing is better than models at this point. Not that I don't necessarily want to see the models, but the CG is fine. Let's get over that just because it's there. I think it's fine. But I was excited.
Yeah, I think as a whole I was too. And I think we agree on our favorite parts, and some of it comes from just our love of the Millennium Falcon and Han Solo. But seeing that part was cool. The other thing I thought was interesting that someone commented on that was one of their favorites was the vehicles, no vehicles are filmed in space in the trailer. They're all on planet, and you have this very cool effect. One of my favorites is when the X-wings are skimming across that, the top of that body of water, and you see the the mist kind of coming up and stuff. And Abrams has done that before. He did it with Star Trek when he has the Enterprise come up out of the ocean. Yeah. And I thought it's a cool, unique little thing. The other thing I have to say I was glad not to see a lot of were the what do they call the solar flares, because he had gotten carried away with that in Star Wars or Star Trek, sorry. But yeah, I agree. I think the things that people are upset about, the the triple lightsaber, the droid, soccer ball droid, or whatever you want to call them, are, I think, minor concerns. I think that this is very much a trailer that's supposed to get people talking, that's supposed to get people, tweeting about it and stuff. And I think Abrams picked those things, those images that he put on there to get people to start to, I think he knew they would be polarizing. And the soccer ball droid, I think, also was there for the kids. I think, and as much as we dislike Jar Jar Binks, I know our kids, in that generation, are not as opposed. Like, they don't love my kids don't love Jar Jar Binks, but they aren't bothered by him as much as I am. And so maybe that's what that is here, and I'll take a droid, a silly droid, over, a silly alien any time.
I completely agree, and that's the funny thing. I remember vividly sitting through Mission Impossible, the first one, and seeing a preview for Star Wars, Phantom Menace. Oh, and it was a great preview. That's what I remember. So I'm like, okay, after seeing this one, I want to go back and see it. I watched it again. It is still really good. It's hard to disassociate yourself with knowing who Jar Jar Binks is now. But
right.
It's still a really good trailer. So if nothing else, Lucasfilm, even though George is not involved that much anymore, Lucasfilm does know how to cut a good trailer. So I really enjoyed that. And the one other thing I want to say is the X-Wings, I love that coming across the planet. I haven't heard this mentioned, but the one pilot they show looks just like the pilot on Hoth. And I can't remember his name at the time, at the moment, but it's the one that finds Han Solo and Luke when they had to spend the night, and Luke's in the Tauntaun all smelly and warm. But it's that pilot, and it looks, to me, I think it's maybe General Riken, I can't remember. But it looks, to me, it looked just like him. I'm like, there's no way. That's weird. So I'm just throwing that out there. I want to hear if anybody else thought that too.
No, that's interesting. I didn't even think of who that was. I just saw somebody in the Rebel outfit and was just like, okay, that's cool. Very cool.
How cool if that was Wedge? And I know Dennis Lawson had said, I'm not coming back, I'm not going to do any more, whatever. Right. But that was Wedge. Oh, that would have been so cool.
Well, and they could cast somebody else in that character. I think he's minor enough where most people wouldn't know the difference between it. But
maybe his nephew?
Maybe.
Oh, no, that's right. He was Obi-Wan Kenobi. Can't do that.
Oh, really?
Oh, you didn't know Ewan McGregor?
No. See, you've got a lot more of that Star Wars background than I do. So
yes, Ewan McGregor is Dennis Lawson's nephew.
Yeah. I did not know that. That's cool. That's really cool. Huh. Yeah, so I think overall I'm excited. I think the things that people are picking on are nitpicky kinds of things. I think also we have to remember we have to let Abrams put his stamp on it too. So if that lightsaber is just like that's the way he's going to do lightsabers, then let it happen. Or maybe there's an explanation for it. Because you're right, the technology thing's always been weird. When the prequels first came out, I was always bothered about how everything looked so slick and everything looked so clean, because in the ones we grew up with, everything had this sort of clunky kind of, especially the Rebel stuff. And it was supposed to be, I guess, because it was older and it was whatever they could get their hands on. But even the TIE fighters and stuff didn't look as slick as the prequel stuff did. But you have to realize, well, it's its own time, maybe things were slick and then the Empire takes over and things kind of go into a technological, dark ages or something to that effect. So let's see what happens. I mean, there aren't any more Jedis. Maybe this is some guy that is kind of just jumping into it. He doesn't have a master and he's just made it, and this is what it is. So
well, that's a good point. What I'm very curious at, and this was an interview with George Lucas, when he was explaining the Jedi techniques in A Phantom Menace, he was mentioning that we have a bunch of Jedi, and they are training against each other, so the fighting styles are much faster, much quicker, much more lethal, especially for the Sith, than they were in any of the 3 original movies. Because in the original movies, we have a very aging, almost dead Darth Vader, an Emperor who really doesn't fight anymore, he just uses electricity, and Luke, who's just learning. And I guess Obi-Wan too, but he was aged as well. So what are we going to see? I mean, have we been training, or is it just the Jedi have really almost died out, but for Luke, so we have almost just really, really, really slow movement, like the way you and I feel in the morning when we wake up. So
Nicely.
I'm very curious how that's going to go.
Yeah, I think that's Lucas kind of explaining away why he didn't have the fighting choreography that were in the first ones, which is again just another advancement in our ability to film things. I mean, you think about how game changing the Matrix, was, and now we just sort of think of that as like, whatever. In episode 1, how game changing that was, seeing them jump and leap around so much, which, it's a good explanation for it. The other thing I wanted to hit on real quickly before we move on, too, about the extended universe, because I know that they've sort of discounted that and said, hey, none of that necessarily happened. I think what we have to also be careful of doing is not just dismissing anything that is. So saying, oh yeah, well, but that was said to be discontinued. Like that's not how it is. It could very well be. They're just saying none of it is legitimized because then they can pick and choose what they want to legitimize. So if they want to say that, yeah, the Emperor got rid of all cloning, they can still do that. The other thing I wanted to hit on real quickly before the extended let's move on to our next topic, which the other big trailer that came out is Jurassic World.
Yeah, I almost feel bad for it and I think Universal realized what was going to happen because they released it 2 days early. So I think it came out on was it Wednesday? Maybe it was Tuesday. But they realized, wow, we made a really big mistake. We lined this up to go against Star Wars. We can't do that. So they released it early. And we got our first look at it. Man, it was, I don't know what I expected, if I expected anything. I really liked it. I like Chris Pratt. I think he's great. I looked up the cast because I didn't, to be honest, I haven't been paying much attention to it because it sort of lost its luster with me with 2. Like Jurassic Park is an amazing movie. It came out on my 16th birthday. Great birthday, June 11th. It was awesome to go see that opening day on my birthday. Fantastic, great movie. So when the second one came out, The Lost World, it was like, wow, that sucks. And I actually enjoyed the third one. So I'm a little probably not. That's not a popular opinion, I'm sure. But when this was announced, I was like, well, we'll see. So I really didn't know the cast. So we have Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, who is obviously Ron Howard's daughter, but she's also an actress upon herself. She's been in Twilight, 50-50, The Help, Terminator Salvation. I didn't remember her in that, but it's like, oh, that's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And then Judy Greer, who's going to be an Ant-Man. Listen to this one. She's going to be an Ant-Man, Tomorrowland, and she was in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And it's like, oh, that's right. That's the girl from Arrested Development, the one who's Michael's secretary. Who's like, woo, keep showing, pulling her shirt up. I'm like, wow.
Is she the one that's the voice on Archer too?
Yes.
Yes. She's from around here actually. She's from Michigan. So yeah, there you go. I'll have to see if I can look her up. No. But yeah, I'm surprised she was in all that stuff too. I think she's just one of those people that just kind of just shows up and you're like, oh wait, that's her.
And it's funny because she's right there at the beginning of the trailer, and it's like she's shoving her kids off to go to Jurassic World. And you're like, wait a minute, lady, don't you know what happened before? She's like, if there's monsters, run. And you're like, wow, your kids are gone. They're say bye.
Yeah. Did you imply or did you infer, sorry, that that she was the girl maybe from the first movie? And she was sending her kid, like she's all grown up kind of a thing, sending her own kids. That's just what I inferred. I have no idea if they were actually implying that or not. But that was the first thought that came into my head was she was like, hey, and that maybe is why she sent them because I can't think of a good reason. You think that would even be more of a reason not to send them. But who knows?
You might be right. I hadn't put that together, but there's no reason not to think that. I mean, that's an interesting correlation.
It's been long enough to where it possibly could be.
I would like that because doesn't seem to be another tie to it. Like I was trying to think of, okay, what is the tie from Jurassic Park, Lost World, Jurassic Park 3 to this one, and I didn't see any other than the dinosaurs, obviously.
Right, and they don't. I like that they don't show the new hybrid dinosaur. I like the Jaws effect of that. I think that's always. I think that's something that Hollywood doesn't do enough of leaving things up to your imagination for a while. And the greatest thing about Jaws Go back and watch that movie if you haven't watched it in a long time. And sure, some of it's dated and stuff, the special effects and things, but you don't see that shark until almost the end of the movie. And it's so effective in the way that it shows that. Now, I'm not saying that Jurassic World's going to do the same thing, you know, to that extent, but in the trailer they did. And so you're just sort of imagining, like, what could this thing look like? And then my favorite scene, other than seeing Star-Lord fight dinosaurs, which is what one of our listeners' kids he posted, his kids had said, look, Dad, it's Star-Lord fighting dinosaurs. And he was like, yes, awesome. Was when Pratt is on the motorcycle and the raptors come running up. You think initially, of course, they're chasing him, and then they run beside him, look over at him, and then keep going. And you're like, no way. He trained these raptors to, you know, be his, like, hunting party or what have you. I thought that was really cool. And it makes sense with the mythos that they've built around the raptors in that they're pack hunters and, you know, their intelligence and stuff, that you could train them like you would a pack of dogs. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I like that myself. The other one I really enjoyed was, I thought there was sort of an homage to Jaws, like you brought up, with the shark being taken along the line.
Yeah.
Like, oh, there's Bruce the shark, what's going on? And then the big, whatever, Jurassic crocodile comes out and eats it. I'm like, and then, of course, everybody's like, yay, we're in the wet zone. I'm like,
it's like SeaWorld.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Too funny. So there was a lot of things I liked. The one thing I'm not sure about, and it was weird that I didn't like this, Allison was kind of ripping on me. She's like, really? You don't like the science of it? But that was the whole point of the first one, was taking DNA out of the mosquito to create the dinosaur. I'm like, yeah, this one feels a little alien, in the movie Alien, in that they're creating this genetically altered dinosaur, and it's more like a monster movie now instead of a sci-fi movie with the dinosaurs and the wonder, and that first shot where Sam Neill gets out of the Jeep and you see the brontosaurus go by, and you're like, oh my god, they created a dinosaur. That's insane. This one, I don't know. I'm gonna have to see. That didn't sit with me well the first time I saw that. So
I hear what you're saying. I think some of it too, though, Jimmy, that we have to remember is, like, dinosaurs on a big screen are sort of like, whatever now, you know. But when the first Jurassic Park came out, it was a mixture of the animatronics and the CGI. And so when you and I were sitting in that theater and this huge dinosaur comes on the screen next to these people and it looks so realistic to us, it you know, recreating that effect with us, you know, you felt what the characters in the movie are feeling. And nowadays you just don't have that. You know, you just don't. I took my son to see when they re-released it on the whatever anniversary it was, 15th or whatever it was, and he liked it, but it didn't really faze him either. You know, you can turn on the History Channel and you see dinosaurs running around, you know, CGI dinosaurs. So I think that's part of why that part, maybe they just abandoned that altogether. I don't know, but I hear you about the different feel, and there is a very much a you know, alien kind of thing. But there was the one thing that's consistent with the first one is the evil corporation. You know, the scientists crossing that line of you know, playing God. You know, the Frankenstein mythos that you had in the first one too.
We can do it, but should we do it?
Should we? Right, exactly. Yep, good point.
And I want to mention one more actor, Jake Johnson, who I'm a big fan of. He's the comedic aspect in My Girl, New Girl, the TV show.
Oh, okay.
He is hilarious. I didn't see him in the trailer anywhere, but Jake Johnson, hilarious. I can't wait to see what he's doing.
That's cool. That's cool. So the next big piece of news that we're going to talk about, what we're going to wrap up the news section with, is the Suicide Squad casting just came out. DC is doing a film of Suicide Squad, which, if you don't know what that is a team of supervillains that have basically been blackmailed into going on these suicide missions for the government that, you know, obviously their lives are in danger and there's not much of a chance that they're going to survive. And part of how they've been blackmailed into this, at least recently and in more recent stories, is they have a you know, miniature bomb, a microscopic bomb placed at the the base of their skull. That if they abandon the mission or do anything they're not supposed to do, that it'll just detonate and their life will be over. But then there's like rewards of things too. And while I'm not a huge Suicide Squad follower, I know a little bit about it. So hearing that this, the casting had finally come out about this, I thought it was pretty exciting, especially when you hear who was cast. I think what I find interesting about them even making this film at all is that it's on the heels of Guardians of the Galaxy, and I feel like this is DC's maybe ability to or complement to that film of you have, with Guardians, these outcasts that band together, but they're much more heroic because look at this rogues gallery that you have. You have Jared Leto playing the Joker, and I want to talk about each of these actors a little bit too. Now, the Joker in the comics never was a member of the Suicide Squad, so this is something that definitely is different, and a lot of people, I could see a lot of comic book geeks, really taking issue with this and so forth. Not to mention all the fans out there who are going to say no one can be, the Joker, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Deadshot, who's going to be played by Will Smith. Rick Flag, who's going to be played by Tom Hardy. Harley Quinn by Margot, I don't know if it's Robbie or Robbie. I'm going to go with Robbie. Boomerang, Jai Courtney. And Enchantress, which is Cara Delevingne, I think is how you say her name. So a nice group of villains here that I think are really interesting and that should make for a pretty good movie. And it won't be like Guardians in that regard. Like these guys, they're bad people. Deadshot is a hired assassin. The Joker, we know the Joker. Harley Quinn and the rest. So I guess my initial instinct is that this could be really, really good. But it could also be League of Extraordinary Gentlemen,
Oh, I'm so sad you brought that up. I mean, it's such a disappointing movie.
Awful, right? Because the original content's so good, and there's so much potential for it to be good. But it could be just disastrously awful, and it all, like always, hinges on the writing. And so that's what I'm sort of interested to look at. But let's look at each one of these characters and the actors that's playing them.
Well, let me interrupt you real quick. The writing,
yeah, go.
David Ayer is directing it, and I think he helped write it. And I had to look him up. Like, okay, who is this? Training Day. He wrote Training Day. That to me is a phenomenal flick. Mm-hmm. Love the relationships in that movie. It's very dark, twisty. Ethan Hawke and Denzel Washington have an amazing relationship. Fantastic movie. So I really think the writing's going to be good in this.
Yeah, that's encouraging, certainly. And I think that the cast is encouraging too. Jared Leto is the Joker, and he won an Academy Award for Dallas Buyers Club, and he really hasn't done anything since that. He plays the transgender or trans. I don't know if he's transgender or if he's just a transvestite. I can't remember which because I only saw it once. But regardless, he's playing this very unique character and really brings this character to life. It's a very realistic portrayal. You both are admire the character and sympathize with the character, but also at times are disgusted with his weakness because he's addicted to heroin and that's how he gets AIDS and so forth. If you haven't seen Dallas Buyers Club, by the way, you should see that movie. It's really, really good. And it is McConaughey is actually really good in it. He was in Mr. Nobody, which I didn't realize that was him. I saw that on Netflix, Mr. Nobody, and it's this sort of like futuristic satirical film that really has a nice commentary on what your life is worth, like what is meaning in life, like what gives your life meaning. So it messes with time and stuff. There's like these I think 3 different interweaving narratives, but I don't want to get too much on a sidetrack. Requiem for a Dream was another one I noticed, and American Psycho. So I mean,
you forgot Fight Club.
He was in Fight Club?
He's the one that got his face obliterated by Ed
Wood. Is that him? The blonde one?
Yeah.
Okay, so add that to the list too, and I'm excited because
He was
all
in
of the
Panic Room as well. Another Fincher film.
oh, cool. I mean, all those say to me this guy can bring the eccentricity that you need for the Joker, which we saw in both portrayals on film. Heath Ledger and Jack Nicholson brought an eccentricity to the character, both in different ways. And all the people who are out there saying, how can anybody do the Joker now that Heath Ledger did it, blah, blah, blah. Let me remind you that we all said that exact same thing about Heath Ledger and Jack Nicholson. We all said when Heath Ledger was announced, how can they do this? How can anybody besides Nicholson be the Joker? It's just not going to be the same. And then look what happened. They took the Joker and they played it differently, and I'm assuming they're going to do the same thing here, to where it's going to be the Joker. They'll stay true to the character, but it'll be a little turn to it, a little twist. And I think what I would like to personally see is the Joker that you see in what is the now I'm it's completely blanked. The one where he shoots the Killing Joke. Thank you. Killing Joke. That Joker. In that he has some of that. He's not maybe as dark, and he's still sort of comical, but has that just kind of twist to him. So I don't know. I kind of am hoping for that. What I'm hoping
that would be very cool. I think, and a Joker. Laugh alone is unbelievable. But I love Mark Hamill's Joker. I think it's fantastic. And it's just another layer of how you can play the Joker. The dynamic on this team that I'm curious at, I don't know if this is the next casting you're going to, is Joker's never really been associated with Suicide Squad, but now we have Joker and his girlfriend, Harley Quinn, on the same team. How's that going to play?
Yeah, I'm worried about that, to tell you the truth. And I'm worried about Harley Quinn as a whole. For me, I love Harley Quinn from the animated series, and that's where she started. But for me, Harley Quinn has always, and I'll admit, I haven't read a lot of her in, self-titled series. But she seems so cartoony, and I don't know if she's got a good enough backstory. And like I said, maybe I just don't know enough, and some of you out there can point me in the right direction of where I should read some of the stories that kind of flesh out, her backstory or make her more of a three-dimensional character. But I'm just concerned that she's going to come across as cartoony in the movie, and I don't think it's going to work. I'm not sure about the actress who's playing her, Margot. She was in The Wolf on Wall Street. She sure is attractive. I think she'll, the sex appeal of Harley Quinn, which is high, is going to be there, and she can do that. And she was pretty good in The Wolf of Wall Street. I saw it the one time, and she wasn't, great, but she wasn't terrible, and it's hard to say with that role. But she doesn't have much else to her. She was in About Time, which I've always meant to see, which is a British comedy, romantic comedy, but haven't. But that's kind of encouraging. It looks like it was well done. But it's a huge question mark. And you're exactly right. Is that going to be a thing? Because in the New 52, the Suicide Squad, there was this weird sort of romance that was going on between Harley Quinn and Deadshot that I don't know if they're going to, they can't play that if the Joker's in it. But maybe the Joker's not even on the squad. I mean, we don't know what the storyline's going to be. Maybe they're hunting down the Joker. He's part of the issue or something. I don't know. But yeah, that kind of is a red flag for me. The other red flag for me is Will Smith.
I was surprised to see, and maybe this has been rumored, I'm just not paying attention. I was shocked to see Will Smith associated with this, and then to see he's going to be playing Deadshot. I mean, that's cool to have an actor, extend himself and be a villain, but I was like, Deadshot? Really? Not that I don't like Deadshot. I was just very surprised. It has nothing to do with color either. Stop it. I hate that. Yeah. I was just surprised that it was Deadshot.
Yeah, no doubt. And the first thing I wondered, with Will Smith being such a huge name, and you had this with Spider-Man too, right? Deadshot's mask covers his face completely in the comic, and that's how I'd like to see him on screen. And you know, Deadshot was in Arrow, and they didn't cover his whole face; they just had the weird looking eye thing on him. And so I was sort of wondering, with Will Smith, are they going to do that? Because he's such a big name, you sort of want to see his face. Now, you can have him take his mask off, you know, a lot of times, like they do in Spider-Man, too.
Okay.
Right. But...
Reckoner.
Yes, right. But I just was... I wasn't sure, and it did. It surprised me, too. But, hey, I think Will Smith is a talented actor when he has good writing, so I think it's going to hinge on that. But yeah, it was surprising. Tom Hardy as Rick Flag. I have to admit, I had to look up who Rick Flag was. I didn't know, but he's like pretty much the central character in Suicide Squad. Like, he's been in a lot of incarnations from the beginning when they were called Task Force X way back in the day, and he's typically the leader. And so I kind of see him as from what I read up about him, as like a hybrid between like Captain America and the Punisher, if you can imagine that. Like, you know, he's sort of a soldier first, but he's, you know, not afraid to get his hands dirty, like the Punisher is. So I thought that was interesting. It'll be interesting to see Tom Hardy, you know, do that role. I don't really have any qualms with that. And then Boomerang, which I'm sorry, I like the Flash, but I've always thought that Captain Boomerang was the dorkiest of all villains. That, especially for the Flash, like, seriously, you have a guy that can run super fast, and you're gonna throw a boomerang at him. It just doesn't seem to. He seems like he should be a Green Arrow villain. He's a perfect Green Arrow villain, and so seeing that he's going to be, I haven't watched Arrow lately, but they had a teaser where it looked like there was a boomerang sticking out of somebody. That's where he belongs. The fact that he's a Flash supervillain just baffles me. But apparently his backstory and what he brings to the Suicide Squad is he's sort of the loose cannon / the person you can't rely on, the person you can't trust. He oftentimes goes astray or sabotages things. And what I thought was really interesting that I wonder if they were going to do is, in the comics, he was incredibly racist for a while there in the late 80s, and he was obviously the character you're supposed to detest. And really dislike from the beginning. I kind of hope they go that direction with this. Now, I don't know if they necessarily need to make him racist, but I hope that they go with the idea that he's instantly detestable, and there's somebody in this group that you really don't want to see and root for. And I think, you know what, maybe do bring the racist part into it, just with everything that's been happening, and how that would sort of bring some of current events into the film, might lend it some interesting weight, where we see this character who is instantly detestable, and we obviously don't like his blatant racism, but somewhere along the movie we realize he is still a human being. You know, he is still you know, he's not just this monster that we can just, you know, label in a certain way, and we see that maybe he's capable of change even. I don't know. So that's interesting. And I don't know much about Jai Courtney, who's playing him. I guess he's going to be in the new Terminator movie.
And I believe he was John McClane's son in the last Die Hard movie.
Which worries me, because that was a terrible movie. And then he was apparently in I, Frankenstein, which I haven't seen for a good reason. And he was apparently, I guess he's the lead in Divergent, which, again, I'm not a 16-year-old girl, so I haven't seen that either.
Wait a minute. I'm not allowed to watch those movies?
Well, you are allowed. I don't want to categorize them that way. But
I watch W and I watch Hunger Games. What's wrong?
Hey, I actually like the Hunger Games. I just didn't really care to see Divergent at all, and I think it was mostly because from the previews I thought the actress looked terrible in it, and it looked like it was really poorly written. But the kids really liked that book, and hey, anything that gets kids to read, I'm all about that.
Sarah Holgraffer on our website, Purple Lotus, Seraph, I'm sorry, she read the books, loves them, reviewed them on the site on Nerdlock. Check it out. I honestly I don't remember if she reviewed the movie or not. But again, check the site out. I know she's a big fan of that series.
That's
Not
cool.
as far as I know either.
Yeah, I love satires like that. Especially the apocalyptic kind, the dystopian societies like Hunger Games. So I like the idea. I just from the previews thought it didn't look like it was that well executed. So, but I'll have to check that out. And I've always meant to read it because if the kids are reading it, I try to read it too. So yeah, hopefully he's good, but he's definitely a looker. And so I think of all of the characters here, although some people, I think Jared Leto's good looking, but if he's the Joker, he's not going to be the girl draw. I think that's why Jai's in this. It's like, okay, let's get our girl audience in there. And so I hope it's more than that.
Hardy?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Maybe. I mean, I'm sure some girls are attracted to Tom Hardy. He's a pretty decent looking dude, but Jai's definitely the pretty boy if you look him up. So, and then Enchantress, which basically, if you don't know who Enchantress is, think of it as like a female Jekyll and Hyde kind of character or Hulk character, but with magic instead. She basically has these magic powers, but oftentimes there's this evil persona that she loses control of if she uses the magic too much and so forth, and it kind of takes over, and she can be highly destructive. So that's the background on Enchantress from the DC side of things. So, and the actress playing her, apparently she's going to be in Pan, the new movie with Hugh Jackman. That's kind of the prequel to Peter Pan. And she isn't listed as to what character she's playing there. And she's was also in Anna Karina, but I didn't see that. And she was like some princess in that. So don't really know. Kind of an unknown there. So I talked a whole heck of a lot there, Jimmy. What are your thoughts overall on Suicide Squad?
I love the cast as individuals. I love Tom Hardy. I'm late to the game. I only became aware of him in Inception. I very much enjoyed him as Bane. It took me a while because I love Bane from the comic books with the Lucha Libre mask and all that stuff. So when I saw the rebreather thing, I was like, what? Seriously?
Yeah.
But man, when I saw him in action and just the little things that he does where he's like, what's his name? He's like, I spent a lot of money. Do you think that gives power over me or whatever? And you're like,
yeah.
Damn, go Bane! Yeah! So I'm a huge Tom Hardy fan. I very much enjoy Will Smith movies. Not all of them. Wild West is a great example. He's done a lot of great stuff, but then he's done a lot of After Earth, so we'll see. But like you said, he's a great actor, so that's not the problem. It's usually the material he's choosing, which is not great.
Yeah.
So hopefully this is different. Jai Courtney, I don't know. It seems like if he's surrounded by good actors, hopefully that'll elevate him and his acting to that level. I can't say Die Hard was necessarily a movie that, hey, we're going to have some great acting. Let's get him in here. It's always been an action flick, and I'm not knocking Bruce Willis. I'm just saying that's what it is. It's a blow up. Let's blow it up. That's what it does. And Jared Leto, I think he's just so underrated. I don't think so anymore, but I know for a long time it was like he's just a pretty face. It's like he's done a lot of movies now where I think he's proven himself. I think he's going to be a serious role, and I'm enthusiastic to see what he does with the Joker, because we can't be stuck on, well, Heath Ledger is the Joker, the epitome of the Joker. We can never have another Joker, because like you said, that's what happened with Jack Nicholson. Oh, he's the Joker. We can't have another Joker. Even he came out and said, why didn't they ask me to come back and be the Joker?
Yeah.
You're like 100 years old. It's not going to
Exactly.
So I'm excited that we're going to have a new Joker. We're going to get a new incarnation, and I think that's what's nice is he's not going to be playing Heath Ledger's Joker. He's going to be playing a different version of Joker that's all himself, and the fact that he's on a team that he's never been associated with. I mean, let's be honest, the Joker has never been a team player. That's the whole point of the Joker. It's not like, and I know it's Spider-Man, but it's not like when they do the Sinister Six, ooh, let's call the Joker and see if he wants to join. It's like, no, nobody calls the Joker to join the team because he's not going to do that. That's not him. Right. So I'm excited. I'm nervous, but I'm excited. I love having a team of bad guys together. Let's do it. And the real bad guys, like you said.
Yeah.
Friends of the Galaxy are outlaws, but not necessarily
misfits.
Yeah, bad guys. These guys are all despicable human beings. They're Tarantino characters. you don't want to like any of them, but they're going to obviously make it in a way that we're going to have to like them. Otherwise, it's going to be a weird movie.
I like that connection you just made. It could be a very Reservoir Dogs kind of a film where you have all these really despicable characters, but yet you still root for them. I mean, you still want to see them succeed in some kind of way, and that's the central point of the comic book, is you have these very villainous characters who are forced to do good, and you start to see that actually they're pretty capable of doing good. You know, and you see, I hope that the writing brings about their flawed backgrounds and you see how these people became who they are. My question is there, though, you can't ever do that with the Joker. That's part of what makes the Joker, is we don't know what happened.
And that's a tall order, but again, I go back to Training Day, what David Ayer did with Denzel Washington. We love him. Mm-hmm. We love him in that movie. And then there's this subtle shift where we're like, oh my God, he's a bad guy. He's a real bad guy.
Yeah.
We see it from the point of view of Ethan Hawke, and we're like, oh no. It's like, okay, we have to take him out. You can't have him in this world anymore. And I think he did it awesome, but that was a buddy film, basically. Two guys.
Yeah.
That was a team. So you're right. It's tenuous, and I hope he can do it.
Yeah, I hope so too. And then to kind of wrap up the Leto thing, if you do have doubts about Leto and his range, seriously watch Dallas Buyers Club and watch Mr. Nobody, and you can see he's got a range, so he can play it however they want. Two other notes that were in here is the role of Amanda Waller still hasn't been cast. She's the government official that's kind of in charge of the Suicide Squad, so it'll be interesting to see who they cast there. I kind of hope that they pick somebody who's heavier set, because Amanda Waller's been portrayed in the comics as a heavy set black woman, but also more recently as sort of typical body type. And I think it's just a nice. It's nice to have some, different body types on screen, because we always see the same body type all the time. I don't know. I think it's something that would be unique.
No, you got a good point, because on the Arrow, she's the skinny little girl.
Yeah, and she's that way in the New 52 as well. So, and then the other thing that's been noted is that apparently Jesse Eisenberg is in talks to play Lex Luthor. So, and we know, of course, he's Lex Luthor in Batman vs. Superman. So, nice to see that this is going to be in that. If that's true, I'm guessing it's going to be in that continuity, which is really interesting. So. Be ready for, and you kind of have to have this with Joker and Harley Quinn for some Batman mentions, some Easter eggs in there of some kind, I'm sure.
I think I'm a little nervous. Is DC doing something right? I don't know what to think.
I know. I think they're learning from Marvel finally is what's going on, hopefully. So so that's enough for the news. There's a lot of it, and we did miss a whole week. So, but the next thing I kind of wanted to talk about with you is Black Friday. Did you score anything on Black Friday without spoiling any gifts? We don't want to do that, but did you get anything for Jimmy, for yourself that you liked, that you saw out there, or did you stay away from that? Are you anti Black Friday?
No.
No and no. This is very cryptic. Very cryptic.
Okay, I'm glad I have a TV show now where I can rail against this.
Yeah.
I can't stand all these social media posts of, let's just not go to any Black Friday sales that start on Thursday and the Thanksgiving stuff and blah, blah, blah. People have to work and it's family day. It's like, man, I worked in a movie theater and we were open every Thanksgiving, and people did come to the theater. It was quite crowded, and nobody said anything about, oh man, I feel really bad about the movie theater workers that are working today. Mm-hmm. So forget you guys. Go shopping. Do whatever you want. I don't care. Anyway.
I always thought that that argument of like, oh, these poor workers was not the case. That was never the case for me. For me, it was that the consumerism is now infringing upon family time. That was what I didn't like about it, was that it starts Thursday night, and so now instead of just enjoying time with your family, which maybe a lot of people's families, they don't want to hang around and enjoy time with them, but instead of that, we're rushing out to buy more stuff. And that whole thing, that was always the ironic juxtaposition of, here's a day to be thankful, and then Friday, let's go out and buy more stuff. You know, what happened to being grateful for what you had? So I thought that was always an interesting thing. So I will admit, I did go out on Thursday night, and I usually do, but I wait until the kids are in bed and everything, our family time has all been done. So I've never gone and waited in line since they switched it to Thursday. So I didn't go get any of those huge doorbusters. I just went and got some of the cheapy movies, like getting Days of Future Past for like $10 or something like that. That's all I got.
Well, and I think sadly, in the short time that it's been happening, I don't think you have necessarily those huge doorbusters anymore that it's only Black Friday. I mean, it's literally, I saw stuff starting, a week beforehand, and it's still going on right now, and technically, Cyber Monday ended yesterday, so it's just going to go until people stop buying, and it's not necessarily the greatest deals ever.
No, not all the time.
Throughout the year, it's just they hype it up, and it's cool, and that's fine, and people, I think, now make it an event to go shopping on Black Friday. I know my dad does. It's funny. My dad, of all people, a lawyer in Ohio, Black Friday, he's like, where's Dad? He's out of Best Buy.
That's awesome.
But I do want to mention that at Nerd Locker, we actually started this tradition last year. Aaron Rainbow, the Austin Connection part of Nerd Locker, he came up with the idea of having a giveaway for Nerd Locker on Black Friday, sort of a way to give back to our fans, and it'd be totally free. And obviously Black Friday is not actually free, it's all discounted, so we were like, we'll do this. So this Black Friday, we held our second annual Super Happy Terrific Mega Black Friday giveaway. And we changed it up a little because last year we did the math, it was 14 hours, and we gave away something basically every hour. And it was insane. He and I switched off and on, and it was a lot of work. So to alleviate some of that pain, we just had an open rolling giveaway. So you enter starting at 6 in the morning, and then we closed it at 6 at night, and we announced the winners shortly thereafter. We had about, I want to say about 20 prizes ranging from Timothy Doyle. We had 3 watercolor paintings from him, which was Boba Fett, Luke, Darth Vader, which I love. We had A Good, the Bad, and the Ugly from Chris Weston, which was phenomenal. Todd Slater had a Planet of the Apes poster, T-shirt and poster from Gray Matter Art. Paul Shipper donated a Sin City 2 official poster, which is great. We had a Adam Rebelis Giclée giveaway, Matt Parsons Giclée, Dustin Hoots Giclée, Zero Bryant. Man, I go on, but Ridge Rooms, Derek Collier, Timothy Anderson, Ohio boy from Columbus, Graham Irwin, and then we had 2 mystery prints from Hero Complex Gallery and James Ream Davis. I don't even know what they are. I can't wait to see what they are. Joshua Budich T-shirts, Nerd Locker T-shirts. So it was a blowout, a lot of fun. And what was great is that our fans, even the ones who didn't win, were thankful that we did that. So it always feel good. It's good that they enjoy it. So look for next year's 3rd annual. And this was the weird part. We had people asking, well, how do we donate our art prints if we want to give those away?
Oh, cool.
Great question. So if you do want to give away your artwork, and that's something you want to be a part of for next Black Friday, and we're planning a little ahead, hit us up at info@nerdlocker.com and just put Black Friday giveaway in the little subject there so we know what you're talking about. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, but that other than looking at online sales, that's what I did all Black Friday.
Very cool, very cool. And then of course, Small Business Saturday is something also that's pretty cool. And I always encourage people to go to their comic book store. And I'm going to talk about something that happened on Small Business Saturday when we get to our parenting wins this week. So make sure you take advantage of that as well. And then the other thing I want to just sort of mention that I think we should talk about maybe next week, but wanted to throw it out there to our listeners is Christmas traditions, holiday traditions that you guys have, whether nerdy or not nerdy. what are some of the ones that you have that are, unique to your family, or maybe a Christmas story, some sort of holiday thing that happened that you could kind of share? We would love to hear from our listeners, and tell us what kinds of things you guys are into, and what traditions you have. Maybe you decorate your tree with a bunch of Star Wars ornaments like my brother does. Whatever it is, like I said, whether nerdy or not, let us know what's out there, and Jimmy and I will share some of our stuff coming up here pretty soon.
Most definitely.
Cool. All right, let's move on to our recommendations. Let's start with our family recommendation. Recommendations for things that you can enjoy with the family. And Jimmy, do you want to start off with that, or you want me to?
Sure, I'll go ahead and grab this one. It is the holiday season. Officially, Thanksgiving marks. We are going to Christmas now. We can shift gears and put up Christmas lights and all that stuff, so I was very happy. And one of the things that we love to do as a family is watch Christmas movies. And I don't think this is necessarily the tradition of kicking off with this movie in particular, but this is one of our favorite that we do as a family, is the Polar Express. Tom Hanks basically all over that movie. Love it. Not stop motion animation. It's capture animation, where they put all those dots on Tom Hanks and he acted the scenes out, and it's all animated. We love it. Great story. Fantastic beginning to end. Love it. So that's what I would recommend. If you get a chance, check out Polar Express. We actually have the little toy train that came with it. We set it up around the tree because, we're that cheesy and nerdy. We love it. So, Polar Express.
That's awesome. My family recommendation is going to be this graphic novel that I ended up ordering. It's called Princeless. And I got it from my daughter, and I read it first to make sure that it was okay, because just because the animation looks cartoony doesn't mean that it's actually for kids. See Rocket Raccoon for that, because I ended up buying that and read it before I gave it to my daughter, and was glad I did, because then I decided, oh, honey, you can't really read this one. But this one's really cool because of the message I think that it has. And basically the idea is that it starts off with this young girl who is listening to a typical princess story, where a princess is being rescued from a castle by the prince, and she isn't buying a minute of it. But what you find out is that she's a princess, and that's how society is here, that all the kings who only have daughters put their princesses in castles, and then, to prove that the guy's worthy of her, and then therefore an heir to the throne, he's got to save her from the castle. You end up finding out that actually the king does have a son, but he just doesn't really have much faith in him, because the son isn't that interested in fighting, and instead is interested in theater, which amused me, of course, greatly. But it definitely talks about gender expectations and issues that we have, and that they're kind of messed up, and teach girls that all you should do is wait around for a man to come and save you, and it's like, hey, it's not like that anymore. My daughter read it. She really enjoyed it. So I suggest that if you have a son or daughter, I think particularly it's meant for a female audience, but sons would like it probably too. Pick that baby up. I liked it a lot.
Very cool.
All right, let's move on to our Nerd Cave, which is our adults only recommendation, no kids. Since you started, you wanna continue with this one too?
Sure. I feel like I may have talked about this last year, and if so, I apologize. If not, you have to check this out. It is a horror film based around Christmas, and it's fantastic. It is the epitome of 80s slasher. It's called Silent Night, Deadly Night. It is not appropriate for just about every audience on the planet. Twisted minds like me. But it's about a family who's driving along a highway, and they see a car pulled over having trouble, and it's a Santa Claus, because it's that time of the year. And there's snow everywhere, and it's sort of beautiful. They're like, oh, we need to help Santa. They pull over, except that this Santa is a serial killer, sadistic man, and he kills the family. The boys run out of the car into the woods, and they save themselves, only to be orphaned into a convent where they're raised by nuns, and they are punished for everything you can imagine. And eventually the one older son flips and he goes to take vengeance on Christmas Day.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's that cheesy. I am not overacting. That's it.
That's how cheesy it is.
Now, it was recently remade, and I don't remember the exact name. It might have been just Silent Night, or it might have been just Deadly Night. It was not both names. And it was actually kind of entertaining. It was not really the storyline from the first one, but it was entertaining. I enjoyed it. It had Andy McDowell. No, what's his name? Shoot, of course I just missed his name. He was the one in Clockwork Orange. Can't think of why I'm forgetting his name right now, but that guy. He was in it, and I don't know what he was doing in it other than getting a paycheck. But yeah, Silent Night, Deadly Night, a classic 80s slasher flick, not appropriate for kids anywhere. I think I was about 12 when I saw it. It was probably not appropriate for me either, but check it out. It's a lot of dumb fun.
That sounds awesome. My Nerd Cave is a series that I've been reading for a while now. It was the character was featured in my Feminist Fanboy, and it's She-Hulk. Really have liked this. I'm super disappointed that they're canceling it after issue 12. But the art is gorgeous. The cover art is amazing, and then even inside, I love the art that's inside too. But particularly this last storyline where She-Hulk has to defend Captain America against a civil suit, and the other party has hired Daredevil, Matt Murdock. So she's going head to head with Daredevil in the courtroom, and it's this nice courtroom drama. It's got some action in it too, but I just thought it was a great courtroom drama, which is a unique thing to have in a comic book. And I thought it was a really good Captain America story, because basically what you have is this. It starts with this old man who gives this deathbed confession, and that leads to the lawsuit against Captain America, where his family sues on his behalf. And the claim is that Captain America, before he became Captain America, when he was just Steve Rogers, the skinny little boy, was responsible for the death of this man's brother. And this man had basically gotten involved with a bad crowd, and his brother came to set him straight, and Steve was with him, and Steve kept running his mouth, in a very, do the right thing kind of way. We're not leaving until you come with us, and it ended up costing. They ended up killing the character's younger brother, who came to save him. And so he blames Captain America for that. And then, of course, it's a 3-issue series, and I don't want to spoil too much of it, but as the series goes along, you see different perspectives of things, and you see what happens. But I thought it was great in that it really gave you another perspective of who Captain America is and what he represents as a hero. And I've always thought of Captain America as Marvel's Superman, but better. Because what I've always disliked about Superman, and I am kind of biased, just a little bit because of being the big Batman fan that I am, is that he's too perfect. Like, there's nothing flawed about him. And with Captain America,
he's allergic to a green rock. What do you mean?
I know, that's not what I'm talking about, but yeah. And there have been some really good stories with Superman where they do kind of give him this flaw, and I think that was one of the strengths of Man of Steel, actually, was showing that he was kind of a flawed character in that as well, and didn't know what to do with his powers and things like that. And they humanized him, I think, which is when Superman's at his best. But anyway, I've always liked Captain America for that, because while he is Mr. Goody Two-Shoes and wearing the American flag literally on his chest, he's always had this sort of flaw. He's always been somebody who he came from somewhere else, and he's us. He's every nerd that's ever read a comic, every scrawny little geek, but now he can do things that we all wish that we could do. And that's kind of cool. So this brings another element to his story that I thought was really fresh and unique, yet still very true to Captain America. So give it a shot if you get a chance.
Very cool.
Cool.
I'm bummed that she's going away.
I love the She-Hulk series. First of all, I just love her character. I think she's such an underrated character, and every issue that I've picked up, whether it was Byrne or I forget who was it Wade after that. I can't remember who wrote after that, but they're all good. She's such and what I love about her is that she's a lawyer, and they bring that courtroom side, and she's not just Hulk smash. You know, she's got a lot of intelligence, and she brings up a lot of really cool issues. But anyway, yeah, check out She-Hulk if you get a chance. Let's go to parenting wins and fails. Now, I sprung this on you, so if you don't have one, that's cool. I can just share mine. But did you get a parenting win this week?
I'm going to go ahead and start with the fail so I can feel better about myself as we end the day.
Yeah, we like to do it that way.
As you're aware, Madison, my 5-year-old little girl, has hearing aids. She just got them, and she's doing very well adjusting with the hearing aids. Cool. Her parents, however, are not doing so good. Case in point, their electronics. You know what doesn't go well with electronics? Water.
Oh, no.
And you're supposed to take them out when you go in the shower. Duh. Well, yeah, Dad wasn't paying attention too good, and she's in the shower. Luckily, she has long hair that came over her ears. And all she's like, Daddy, I still have my hearing aids. And I'm like, oh my God.
No.
No, get those out. So, good news is, hearing aids are fine. She was fine. Everybody's fine. It was a huge fail as I thought, oh my God, insurance company's going to kill me. I'm going to have to pay these out of my own pocket. Oh, man. We're okay. Everybody's okay. Serenity now. Yeah, that was close call. Not happy.
You and water. How many of your parenting fails have involved water? If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to some of our early episodes and listen to some of Jimmy's parenting fails. They almost all involve water in some kind of way.
I'm Bruce Willis and Unbreakable. That's my only.
There you go. There you go. That's good. But that's awesome that she's doing really well with them though, and they're working real nicely.
Yeah, I think it worked out great. If any of your kids have hearing impairment, get them checked out. Go through the process. Yeah, it's a little scary. When we first had it, we're like, oh man, she's gonna get hearing aids, and then I thought about it, I was like, I wear glasses. It's real no difference. I gotta use those to see. She just needs these to hear. And what's great is they're a lot different than what I thought of, like Grandma and Grandpa back in the day with these big pink things on their ears, and oh my gosh, she's gonna be stereotyped. No, she got to pick out her own color. She's great. She actually loves them. So yeah, she's adjusted really well to them.
Good. That's awesome. Good story. That's great. Well, my parenting fail then actually is a joint fail by my wife and I, and it was with a purchase we gave in. When your kids sometimes they get an idea in their head and they're like, I want this. I really want this. It's really cool. I really want this. And so finally we're like, okay, fine. We'll get this. This is what it is, and it's also sort of some advice. They're called nano blocks. Yeah, they're like miniature Legos. These are the dumbest things ever.
Are they put out by Lego, or are they just a...
No, they are not put out by Lego. They are, you'll get a kick out of this, they are distributed by the Ohio Art Company. So
hey, that's who makes Etch-a-Sketch, I think.
Is it?
I think it is.
You know, it looks like a good idea. It looks great. They're these miniature little Legos, and you build this thing, and it's an African elephant. It's meant to look exactly like an African elephant, Lego style. It's movable, like the ears move and the trunk move. Okay, you know when you do Legos, right? And you have the one dot Lego, and you go to try to put it on, and it's like crooked or whatever, and then it doesn't go on, and then of course it goes flying, and you can't find it. You're searching around on the cart. Okay, imagine that is like this big, like tiny. That's all that's in here, are just teeny tiny little Legos. I felt like I was this, Andre the Giant, and I'm just putting these things together. Let me get this on. It does come, I have to give them credit, with about like 20 extra pieces because you're bound to like lose them. And they're so small, you can just probably vacuum them right up. They'll just sound like gravel or something as you suck them up. But I tell you what, like she couldn't even do any of it because, and my daughter's 8 years old, so she does great with Legos. But these things, they were just so tiny, it was almost impossible to put it together. It was crazy. Don't get them. They're way too expensive, and they're infuriating.
I love that story. I'm sorry you go through it, but I'm happy you went through it because now I have an awesome story.
I don't even know if they even still sell these things anymore. We got it at Target. So if you see them, nanobots, nanoblocks, they look cool. They are not.
What's the age limit on that? What's the age recommendation?
Let me see if I can find that.
I can't fathom how that's not a choking hazard.
Well, yeah, and it says, oh yeah, no, it's a choking hazard. Well, maybe not. They might be so tiny that you could just down them, no problem. It does say it was over 120 pieces, so there were a lot of pieces to it for one. And it says ages 8 and up. So it is, for older kids, but I don't know about you, like when it came to Legos, like your kids probably put them together before the age limit that it gives on the Legos. You always kind of do that. But this one, yeah, definitely 8 and up is for sure it, because it was really hard. Very complicated. And then they don't stay on is the other thing. Like it falls apart. The trunk's like, now it's not even an elephant. It's like I don't know, a tapir or something, because it's just got a little snout. It's sad. So that's the parenting fail.
That's funny, dude.
Yeah. How about your parenting win?
Well, we had a pretty good one. We're trying to encourage James to read more. He's 8. And he's at that age where, well, I can't say that age because I like electronics too, and I play a lot of electronics, whereas I should read more. But we're trying to get him off the electronics and trying to get him to read more. And he picked up Harry Potter because his cousin Bruce was reading it. Mm-hmm. So he started reading Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I believe that's the first book. I apologize. I'm not a Harry Potter fan. So he read it, and he read it rather quickly. And one of the things we did to entice him to read it was, if you read this, we will watch the movie as family movie night. Cool. So he read it. He finished it over Thanksgiving weekend. We're like, cool, let's pop it in. And pop it in like it's a VHS. Let's turn it on. So we watched Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I'll be honest, I watched it Thanksgiving weekend when it first opened way back whenever. I fell asleep. I hated it. I thought it was an awful movie. Yeah, it really discouraged me from ever doing anything with Harry Potter. It was much better this time. Yeah. I don't know if it's just because I have a vested interest with James liking it, so now it's like Skylanders and Minecraft and Pokemon. I kind of have to pay attention so I can have a dialogue with him. Mm-hmm. But it was better than I remember it. I stayed awake the whole time. I was doing other things, but I did pay attention most of the time. But it was a nice, in my opinion, a nice way to encourage somebody to read, then watch the movie, and both of them are harmless things that are good entertainment. And it's so far, it's a good series. I know it gets dark, I think, at 3 or so. But so far, I think it's good for him. So, yes, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, reading it and watching it.
I teach the Harry Potter generation. If you don't know this, I teach high school. And a lot of the high schoolers now, they grew up with Harry Potter. Like, they were 7 when Harry Potter was 7, and when it came out. And so, there are some fervent Harry Potter fans out there. Like, you're a Star Wars fan, and I'm a Batman fan. And so, I think that I gave Divergent a hard time, and I hate Twilight. But they get kids to read. But Harry Potter was really one of the first ones that kind of started that resurgence of kids reading stuff again, and kind of became a modern classic. And it's good, is the difference between it and, say, like Twilight. Like, I've read Twilight. Twilight is crap. Like, it's terribly written. But Harry Potter is good writing. It's really, really well written. And the movies, for the most part, are pretty well done too. So I'm not surprised that he enjoyed both of them. If you want to pause the Harry Potter ones, before they get really dark and your son really wants to read stuff, I'll tell you, my son has been into the Peter Jackson books, but it's the other one. There's like he's got another series and it's about Egypt stuff, and my son's like huge into Egypt things, and I can't remember. Kane Chronicles is what it's called, and he's really whipped through those, and they're pretty good too.
Yeah, somebody recommended the the first Peter Jackson one you were talking about. I can't remember.
Yeah, and that's wrong. It's not Peter Jackson. That's Lord of the Rings. It's like
I know. I have to say
something. Percy Jackson. Yes. Jackson. the Greek Olympians and stuff like that. And there was a movie of that wasn't very good when I went and saw it, but I didn't read the book either, so maybe that's part of it. But I know my son is really like the Cade Chronicles. So there's a lot of good children's literature out there. Well, my parenting win is, like I had mentioned before, was a small business Saturday win. The local comic book store where we live was doing all kinds of cool sales. They were having like buy one get one half off graphic novels, trade paperbacks and all kinds of stuff. One thing that they had was a quarter for a comic book in their back issues, so a bunch of unbagged back issue stuff. So I took the kids there, and they just got a whole bunch of old books back from when I knew they were okay because the comic code was on them, so I knew that they were all right. And then I have to say that Dad even scored, and so if you can ever have your kids score and you score, I got a bunch of Batman issues from I think I bought out all the Batman issues that were there for a quarter each. Sweet.
Wow, a quarter each?
I know, right? A quarter each, so I got like 20 of them because they were so cool, and they were all like late 70s, early 80s issues up until like probably right before the third Robin, right before the Tim Drake Robin. And of course, none of them are the big issues or anything. They're the smaller ones. Oh, there was an X Factor #4 in there, which is the first appearance of Apocalypse, and yeah, I didn't get that for a quarter. It was in there, and he's like, "Oh, Jason, this isn't supposed to be in that box." And I was like, "Dude, that's cool. I know." I realized what it was, and I kind of was like, "Why is this in the quarter section? I totally got to find here." So I did the right thing and just said, "Yeah, you're right. That shouldn't be for a quarter," but almost there. So that was mine. Yeah, awesome parenting win. Well, I think that wraps it up for episode 19 and our second video episode. How about that? Technology.
We were live. Like, we actually had... You probably didn't see this. I put it out that we on Twitter and Facebook.
Oh, yeah?
We were live, so we had it on. Crazy. Next time we'll have to promote it beforehand so more people can come in, and we'll have
we will.
Behavior.
There you go. Yes, Mom, if you're watching, hi.
Excellent. So as always, we had a great episode, a lot of fun. Please hit us up. We want to talk about your nerdy parenting skills, wins, fails, recommendations, all that stuff. And like Jason said, your holiday stories, want to hear it, you can hit us up at info@nerdlocker.com. Mm-hmm. You can check us out on nerdlocker.com. Check us out at youtube.com/2nerdydads. We're on Facebook at Nerdlocker. We're on Twitter at Nerdlocker. We're on Instagram at Nerdlocker. And we are on iTunes at 2nerdydads, part of the Nerdlocker network. So please, check us out. Until then, have a nerdy week.
Have a nerdy week, everyone.